Good evening. My name is Jan Wagner, the League of Women Voters, and I welcome you to tonight's forum. The League of Women Voters is a trusted, nonpartisan political organization that has been active for over 100 years. While we never endorse a candidate or a political party, we are directly involved in shaping important issues that keep our communities strong. As a League member, I have the opportunity to contribute in ways that have impact on my local community, my state, and even national issues. If you are interested in learning about how you can make a similar impact, I encourage you to pick up the League information that is in the hallway when you leave this evening. Membership is open to women and to men. Assisting us this evening are our timekeepers, Ed Smith and Maggie Lee, our question sorters, Jody Balma, Jennifer Trafford, and Jan Urban. The candidates, in the order that they have drawn lots for seating, are Bill Klovstad, Marty Siminoff, and Christine Merrick. Please turn off all of your electronic devices at this time. Our format this evening gives each candidate 2 minutes for an opening statement, followed by a question period. Your questions can come in through the period of the evening, and each candidate will have 1 minute to answer a question. All questions will go to all candidates. At the end of our question period, we will have closing statements from the candidates, and they are 1 minute each. In case you are curious, our question sorters here will be writing throughout the evening. They are not generating questions, but they are putting together like questions that come from you that may be on the same topic so that we don't cover it more than once. They will also discard any personal attacks, that is, attack that is not related to a personal record if they are an incumbent. And they will also exclude any questions that do not pertain to the office of City Council. So we're not going to ask questions on national issues. In order that we are able to answer as many questions as possible this evening, and I already have quite a stack, please hold your applause until the end of the evening, and then we will all thank our candidates together. Also know that the FPPC does not allow, they allow recording of candidate forums, but they must be rebroadcast, if they are rebroadcast, in their entirety without edit. So we will start now with our opening statements, and first to give his opening statement will be Mr. Klovstad.
Good evening. I am Bill Klovstad, and I'm excited to be a candidate for Brea City Council. I want to thank the League of Women's Voters, Brea Chamber of Commerce, and the Brea City staff for hosting this event, and y'all at home for tuning in. My wife Fran and I own 2 businesses, the El Rodeo Equestrian Center located here in Brea, and Thrifty Horse Consignment Shop near the city of Norco. Besides being a business owner, I'm an Army veteran and Orange County volunteer. At El Rodeo, we run a horse boarding facility of over 90 horses. I oversee a staff that I'd like to refer to as my team. We hold lots of horse shows throughout the year, bringing many people together to enjoy horses and ranch life. We have a nonprofit called El Rodeo Rescue, where we open our ranch as a shelter site. We also work with the Los Angeles Police Department with their program called Operation Progress, helping disadvantaged kids get a ranch life experience and watch them thrive with other kids and adult mentors. This year, I was called upon by the Orange County supervisors to facilitate a large animal rescue team. Recently, my team of 160 members were activated in the airport fire event, where we evacuated and sheltered over 300 horses. As your city councilman, I will advocate for Brea citizens and businesses to stand on my principles and values to protect the Brea legacy. I will listen and respect all those that wish to speak to me about matters that are most important to each person. As you have learned, I'm a team player, and I will continue that tradition with my colleagues to solve problems while representing the stakeholders of Brea. I will help be a good steward of finances and land. As a people's candidate, it's time for a change. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Klovstad. Mr. Siminoff.
And first, I would like to thank the League of Women Voters for again hosting the candidate forum here in Brea. This election cycle, like others, allows Breans to determine if the city is going in the right direction. Well, I believe it truly has been going in the right direction. Brea is a fiscally sound and maintains strong reserves. Unlike cities near us, Brea does not need a sales tax increase to balance our budget. Public safety remains a priority. This council ordered 3 new engines, 1 ladder truck for our firefighters, and it's going to be paid for in full at $4.5 million. For an added fire protection of our hillsides, Brea is an active part of what's called SOLAR. SOLAR is a working group of San Bernardino, Orange County, LA County, Riverside County fires that work as a team united with Brea to make sure if there's any incident, it is addressed in the hillsides. Public engagement. In March of this year, the City Council approved Plan 2050. This is a community master plan, public outreach project to provide the council with community input to help determine what Brea will look like in the future. The project includes citizens and members of the various Brea commissions. There have already been 5 public meetings seeking community input. Again, regarding public safety, in this era of finding and hiring police officers, Brea has been able to fill every position allocated in the budget. But knowing that there are vacancies and injuries, the City Council has allowed for 2 positions over the max. So we hear that it's time for a change, but what do they want to change? Brea is fiscally sound. Brea has strong public safety services. Brea has a regional working groups that provide greater protection in hillside fire situations. Brea has a full complement of police officers. And finally, reaching out to the public and to hear what Breans want. Brea 2050 is just another example of outreach that has been done in the past with Aero Vista Park, Envisions Brea, the general plan rewrite, and many more. So I ask for your vote.
Thank you, Mr. Siminoff. Ms. Merrick.
Thank you again to the Brea Chamber, the League of Women Voters, and the Brea Chop House for this evening's event. Brea is a great city, the envy of our neighbors, because of our thriving businesses, so many choices of great restaurants and retail stores, our own police and fire services, great infrastructure like our parks, street, water, and sewer systems, and the ever-present sense of community. All of this excellence did not happen by chance, but rather by the diligent work of dedicated policymakers and highly qualified staff listening to the community. This is the Brea way, and Brea deserves council members like me who have strong local support and who care about giving back to the community, not about looking ahead to another elected office or starting a culture war or creating chaos. I am proud of my accomplishments thus far as your city council member. An irrevocable trust fund for pensions and retirement expenses, now worth over $10 million. A 25% reserve policy for fiscal stability. 3 new fully funded fire engines and a ladder truck on order. The grant-funded Integrated Crime Center. An extra $6.5 million in revenue from the county to the city for landfill impacts. Aero Vista Park under construction right now to be North Orange County's first all-inclusive park for all ages and abilities. Developer-funded city benefits, including a Gila hydrant and digital billboards to generate new ongoing revenue for the city. I look forward to continuing this work for you to keep Brea on the right track.
Thank you, Ms. Merrick. So we will begin with your questions now, and the first to receive a question will be Mr. Siminoff. Mr. Siminoff, what are your top 3 priorities as you serve on the council?
I believe that this council, like other councils that I've served on, our priorities include protecting the infrastructure here in Brea, maintaining a high degree of maintenance within the city. Public safety has always been a priority, that we have the best service when it comes to police and fire. And then our budget. We've always tried to maintain a solid budget, and we keep ourselves fiscally sound. And again, I think we've proven over the years with the reserves that we've been able to maintain, because we have gone from, at one point, a 13% reserves to a 25% reserves, and we've been able to maintain that. So public safety, infrastructure, and fiscally sound.
Thank you. Ms. Merrick?
Is so high in the city. As a full-service city, that's our public safety, our infrastructure, our customer service, keeping our great employees. We have aging infrastructure, so that would be number 2. We are over a 100-year-old city, and it is getting more expensive to keep everything working the way that it needs to be. And finally, succession planning and staffing. This is a tough environment, and we know that we have retirements coming, so we need to be always working to make sure that we keep our great staff, and we are hiring and training new staff for the future.
Thank you. Mr. Klovstad?
My top 3 are, to start with, safety enhancements, namely the helo hydrant. I believe that will help our firefighters in the sky and on the ground to more effectively and efficiently fight fires. Our neighbors to the east of us have 2, and our neighbors to the west of us have 1. I think it's time that Brea has 1 or 2, and I don't think it's time for it now. We can't wait. The second thing would be our CFDs. The Community Facilities Districts has that implemented in housing for affordable housing folks. I think that the folks with affordable housing should not be double taxed like the others. And so I'd like to talk to staff, I'd like to talk to my colleagues about, as we move forward, to fix that problem. The third thing is regarding pensions. The idea that we have an OPEB account for post-employee benefits, I would like to see more money go into that fund.
Thank you, Mr. Klovstad. Our next question will go first to Ms. Merrick. I need my glasses. If Measure H does not pass a much-needed school board bond, what is the plan for the city to help with the expansion of growth to prepare the district for incoming families?
So Measure H is obviously a bond measure put on by the school district, and I think it's important for people to understand what are school district responsibilities and what are city responsibilities. So when the city plans or approves new housing, for example, developers pay developer fees to the school district. How the school district spends those fees is up to them. We are not responsible for the building of schools. So Measure H is a district measure for them to handle. That is not up to the city, and we do not tell the district how to spend those funds or what their plan B should be.
Thank you. Mr. Klovstad?
For Measure H, I hope that voters will educate themselves on the measure and vote accordingly. That's number 1. Moving forward, seeing the school 109 years old, the school definitely needs repairs, it needs infrastructure. I look at the kids at this city knowing that this is our future. They need to have infrastructure. They need to have the technology so that they can continue to learn. So moving forward with Proposition H, I would say do your homework, look at the values, do they match up, and vote accordingly.
Thank you. Mr. Siminoff?
Can you repeat the question?
Sure, with my glasses again. If Measure H does not pass, that is a much-needed school bond for Brea Unified School District, what is the plan for the city to help with the expansion of growth to prepare the district for incoming families?
I think, as was indicated by Ms. Merrick earlier, when development comes, those developers will pay a fee. Those fees go directly to the city to help them offset their costs and the impact of those additional students. So it's not the city's budget that would necessarily handle the school. It would be the school district that would have to budget their dollars accordingly and to make sure that they're able to provide those services. Now, I do know that we do assist with some shared usage. I know that we do assist with providing crossing guards, but as a general rule, the school district has to manage their funds in the same way that the city has to manage our funds.
Thank you. Our next question will go first to Mr. Klovstad. My markings on my sheet are wrong. Mr. Klovstad, this question goes to you first. Could you explain what you mean by safety enhancements?
As I mentioned earlier, safety enhancements to me is the incorporation of helohydrants in the city to help fight fires. We have homes and properties that are being threatened if a fire were to break out. And I have visited the helohydrant project in Yorba Linda and came away from that absolutely convinced that the city needs to have that to protect our homes and our properties. And secondly, with police, enhanced safety there would be the continued building of the infrastructure for the integrated crime center to get completed would be an important matter for me.
Thank you. Mr. Siminoff?
Let me start with the Integrated Crime Center. That was something that was proposed to the city, and the city was prepared to do this on a 5-year plan. We were able to obtain a grant of $5.9 million to implement this project all at one time. So there's already some of the elements going into place with license plate readers and other enhancements within public safety already. With regards to the helihydrant, as part of the committee that helped negotiate some of the benefits to the community, helihydrants was some of the things that we had asked for, and that ERA is going to be bringing in a helihydrant as part of their project. As a second one is needed, ERA is in a position to assist with the building and providing of a second one. And I think the fact that I mentioned earlier that we are a full complement of police, we've gotten new fire equipment, I think that we are doing everything we can to enhance our public safety in this community.
Thank you. Ms. Merrick?
There's not much left to add, but I will say that we are always looking at the right staffing model for both our police and our fire services. Brea is unique in that we have a significantly larger daytime population than our residential evening and weekend population. So I give kudos to our staff and like police management and fire management for really looking hard at how we need to staff to best serve at different times of the day. And at the city council level, we have always prioritized making sure they have the equipment that they need, fully funding what is necessary. So 4 new trucks and a ladder, that's very expensive. And the fact that Brea was able to make that purchase as a lump sum is an unusual thing. And we should all be very proud of the financial reserves that we had in place to do that, to keep our community safe. Always a priority.
Thank you. Our next question goes first to Mr. Siminoff. What can be done to help businesses beat the recession that is happening right now and that may come again in the future?
Well, I think that we're actually coming out of a recession based on what I'm hearing. But I would say that Brea has always been an agency, a department, a city that has wanted to work well with the businesses, try to help promote business. And again, I believe that if you were to look at our development services department, we have a director that will go out and they will try to enhance and bring businesses in that we don't have. If there's a vacant building, they'll go out and try to find a business to move into that building. So we are always looking to enhance what we have, to add to what we have. And again, I think if you look at what's going on at the Brea Mall, for a company such as Simon to be willing to invest over $250 million in the city of Brea is an accomplishment. So I think that we're going the right direction.
Thank you. Ms. Merrick?
I'll start with, we're not in a recession and we haven't had a recent recession. What we have had is, historically, for most of us, higher inflation than we're used to, and a slowing down of the economy, but we haven't actually had a recession. So I just like to fact check that. But Brea is very business friendly. We have a great relationship with our chamber and we do a lot of activities together. I was just at one this morning, met and saw many familiar faces again. I'd say the biggest thing we're doing is, not increasing our TOT tax, so our transit occupancy tax. We're not putting a sales tax measure on the ballot. Many of our neighbor cities here in Orange County are forced to do that because they don't have the revenues to properly cover their expenses. But here in Brea, we're looking out for businesses. We don't need to do that because we are financially strong, and that helps our businesses as well as our residents.
Thank you. Mr. Klovstad.
My thoughts on bringing more business to the city of Brea, called business enhancement, would be to, we need to attract more businesses to come in. I'm looking at, for instance, the Bank of America Card Center that closed down. 3,500 employees left the city, which means 3,500 employees that might be buying gasoline, going to the market, using the Brea Mall are not here. We need to bring those businesses back with those employees to be able to shop local and live local as well.
Thank you. Our next question will go first to Ms. Merrick. Please tell us your endorsements and the amount your campaign revenue receives from various sources.
I don't have my Form 460 on me, but I have been endorsed by 4 of the 5 Brea planning commissioners, excluding the one who is running for this seat, by 3 of my council colleagues, Assemblymember Phil Chen. I expect to receive endorsements from some of our other, our county supervisor, as well as our state senator. I just don't have a piece of paper on me, so I don't feel confident saying that's a done deal, but it hasn't been a problem in the past. Many residents, former elected officials, a lot of people. We had a great event. In terms of my fundraising, my 460, I just turned it in earlier this week. Really just a variety of local businesses and a lot of local residents here in town. It's all publicly available, however, on the city website. So if anyone has specific questions about that, that is public information.
Thank you. Mr. Klovstad.
As far as endorsements, I don't have any endorsements yet, other than 3 folks that have spoken up to endorse me, but it's not official. Not quite sure of the rules on that, but I'll name them: Mary Barkey, the Board of Education; Leander Blades with the Placentia Unified School District; and then Kenny Williams, who's also with the Board of Education. As far as my 460s, I just turned it in. I believe I'm sitting at about $10,000 of revenue that has come in.
Thank you. Mr. Siminoff.
Let's see. Well, I'll start with Congresswoman Michelle Steele, Congresswoman Young Kim. I've got Assemblymember Phil Chen. I've got 3 of my colleagues, the mayor and 2 of my council member colleagues. I also have 4 of the 5 planning commissioners. I have a list of residents. With regards to fundraising, I've been doing well with family, with friends, people I've worked with, and many of them have been very generous. And I would say at this particular point in time, I'm probably sitting on about $15,000, and that is on my 460, which was submitted this week.
Thank you. Our next question goes first to Mr. Klovstad. Mr. Klovstad, how would you support affordable housing for Brea?
Affordable housing, to me, is really important when it comes to giving them a house that they can barely afford, to reduce the tax rate on that home. If they're just barely getting into the home, and yet they're being double taxed, I think that's unfair. And I'd like to advocate to remove that tax from that homeowner. I'm an advocate for affordable housing. I think this is a great job that the city has been doing to create affordable housing for folks. But I think we can also do more. I think the city can do more. I'd like to be a part of that.
Thank you. Ms. Merrick? Oh, I'm sorry. It's Mr. Siminoff's turn. Sorry.
Well, first, I'd like to thank Bill for saying we're doing a great job on affordable housing. I do appreciate the kind words. But one of the things that the city has done, and they've had, is an inclusionary rule that's been in place for years. So when housing comes in, 10% of that is set to be affordable. The other thing we've been working for and striving for is more of a workforce housing, allowing housing type that people that live in Brea can afford to live here. It wouldn't be something large or elaborate, but it'd be something that would be comfortable, provide them a means of paying their rent, provide them a means of maybe even walking to work. If they work at a local restaurant or one of the local shops in town, that they would be able to walk, and that way it would be creating housing that doesn't exist, and that is one of the goals that we have been striving for.
Thank you. And now Ms. Merrick.
Yes, our inclusionary ordinance was something that we've had for a long time, and we actually recently beefed that up. So it's now over 10%. And in the years before we changed our inclusionary ordinance, as part of the ad hoc committee that Councilmember Siminoff and I sit on, we actually pushed developers to go further than that 10%. As part of the negotiating process for a development agreement. So affordable housing is something that I very much believe in, and there really are two types, a capital A, affordable housing with covenants, and we are working to build permanent supportive housing for hopefully up to 30 units here in the city of Brea, and we're finally able to make that happen, and that's a really proud moment for our council. But there's also lowercase a, right, which it's not covenanted, but building different types of housing that comes at different rental rates or sales prices. So part of it is just being more open-minded to the fact that not everybody wants a single-family home on a larger lot.
Thank you. Our next question goes first to Mr. Siminoff, and it is related to the question you just answered. Would you support more high-rise developments?
By high-rise, I'm not sure exactly what we're talking about with regards to height. I know that in parts of the city, we have certain height limitations on what can be built. And so it would have to be where we're at, what we're looking at, because high-rise isn't necessarily going to be something that, I guess in theory, you're probably talking 7 or 8 or 9 stories. I don't believe that that's going to be something that would be suitable in the community at this point. But again, I mean, it all depends on where it's at, how it's built, and what the design is. Because it's very possible that some of that could be commercial, some of that could be some other type of business underneath with some housing adjacent and above.
Thank you. Ms. Merrick.
Yes, our general plan and our zoning does actually dictate different height limits in different parts of the city. That's something that's actually part of our housing element. We have made some changes to that, and there are places in the city where we might see higher buildings. I don't know that it would ever qualify. When you say high-rise, I'm thinking of New York or San Francisco, right? That's not ever going to fit here in Brea, but we are going to see different types of housing stock, and as we have more infill development, it will look different than what we currently have here. And again, that's a part of helping to keep housing affordable, is having homes, apartments, condos, all different styles and sizes, and they will come at different price points.
Thank you. Mr. Klofstad.
Downtown Brea, there's a sign that says, "Welcome to good old Brea." And I think what that means to me is that high-rises don't really have a place in this city. I like the flavor of Brea. That's what attracted me to this place in the first place. To see a couple of apartment buildings that probably don't exceed 4 stories, that would be the max to me. It's already been allowed, but let's not go any higher than that.
Thank you. Our next question goes first to Ms. Merrick. Other cities, such as Huntington Beach, have been politicized with extreme majorities. Do you have concerns about that happening in Brea?
So I don't see it imminently happening in Brea, but I don't want it to happen in Brea. I'm very proud that we've been able to focus in this city, despite our differences, on city-level politics. So as you mentioned in the opening, we're not going to be asked questions about things that are not under city purview. We've really taken that to heart at the city council level. We are going to focus on what the city of Brea needs to do to plan for the future, and we're not going to get involved in tangential fights with the state or just chaotic culture wars. And I am concerned that that could happen here. I don't see it happening right now, and I want to do everything within my power to make sure that it does not happen.
Thank you. Mr. Klofstad.
Would you please repeat the question?
Other cities like Huntington Beach have been politicized with extreme majorities. Do you have concerns about that occurring in Brea?
Well, I would have a concern if that started coming into the city. I don't see it happening. Like Ms. Merritt mentioned, it needs to stay away from the city. There's no place for that. Obviously, people need to be able to protect their rights to speech, But that would be about it, in my opinion.
Thank you. Mr. Siminoff.
I think for the time I've been on the council, I think for the most part, we've already had a fairly cohesive council. We can disagree, we can agree, but we move forward. And I'm going to quote one of my colleagues who has repeatedly said the same thing. And I'm going to quote Councilmember Vargas. And when he says 99% of the time, we all five vote together. So again, I think what you have here is a cohesive council, a council that's willing to work together. We will have a disagreement on occasion, but again, I think that we are going the right direction as a council.
Thank you. Our next question goes first to Mr. Klovstad. How would you encourage diverse voices on city commissions?
Please.
Read it again.
Please, yes.
How would you encourage diverse voices on city commissions?
Well, I think that's what makes commissions and committees work, is you have diverse opinions, and that's how things get discussed. That if discussion can be had by grown adults to get things done, diverse people come up with diverse ideas, and that's how things get done.
Thank you. Mr. Siminoff.
I think you have to look at a variety of qualifications in appointing somebody to a commission. You've got to make sure that they've got the interest. You've got to make sure that they've got the ability to attend the meetings and to participate. You know, if you're going to appoint somebody and they don't participate on a regular basis, then you've got the wrong person in that spot. I think when we talk about diversity, one of the things I've strived for and I've done recently is I've tried to find some youth to bring in, youth to appoint to this, because the youth will bring a different approach and a different thought process. But again, when I bring somebody in, it's somebody that I want to see attend, be active, and be a part of that commission, and be a vocal member of that commission.
Thank you. Ms. Merrick.
Getting diversity to our committees and our commissions and our council is a priority for me, and that's something that we have started to do. A great example is our General Plan Advisory Committee that has been meeting this year. We specifically made an effort to find younger people who are engaged in different activities throughout town. It was a real effort. We also did that with Envision Brea. We had different buckets, and we wanted people who filled different buckets, whether that was their ages, their interests, where they lived in the city. It's really important to bring in all the viewpoints. Engage Brea, which was a mission of our former council member Parker, is a way that we can educate as many people as we can throughout the city who we don't already know, in the hopes that they will want to come and apply to be on our committees and commissions. And then as council members, we do have a responsibility. For some of them, we have a one-to-one appointment, and those characteristics should come into play as we are choosing, qualified candidates.
Thank you. Our next question goes first to Mr. Siminoff. Do you support exempting low-income residents from CFD fees, as the city treasurer has proposed?
CFDs has been an issue that I've been bringing up probably more than anybody else on this council. The CFDs and the way they were structured was an issue to me. I've mentioned that more times. And for those that don't know, it's a community facilities district where an extra charge, tax, whatever you want to refer to it, is put on certain housing. It's an arbitrary fee that's negotiated with the builder, which I don't think is fair. I think in many ways it's an end run around Proposition 13. And again, I can understand impacts of new housing. I can understand how it may have some immediate impacts. But again, I think there should be a sunset on CFDs.
Thank you. Ms. Merrick.
This is more than a minute answer, so I'm really going to have to get it in there. So community facilities districts are a way that in the past the city council has helped to offset the long-term cost of adding new residents to the city. And the principle was that new residents should pay for themselves, should not burden the existing residents in the city. So going forward, there is no political will to impose any sort of a CFD, a community facilities district, on new development. However, we do have some that are still in existence. I think it's really important to note, however, that the affordable housing that has CFDs right now is not for low income or extremely low income. It is moderate or above. And the people who were living there knew when they purchased the home that that was there, and the CFD was attached to that property. None of them have actually complained that I am aware of. And I think if you drove into those neighborhoods, you would have no idea that those homes were actually considered affordable housing.
Thank you. Mr. Klovstad.
Yeah, my thoughts on CDFs, or the Community Facilities Districts, is that it's been around for a bit. It's impacting the affordable housing folks tremendously. I'm just astonished that City Council hasn't even talked about that or advocated or passed something that would remove that particular tax away from the affordable housing folks. And then one last piece of that would be, I think of the affordable housing folks that by making it easier on them on tax would allow them to attend, go to restaurants and shop and be a stakeholder in a better way in this city.
Thank you. Our next question goes first to Ms. Merrick. Could you respond to your feeling about the Brea City Council's refusal to use or to break into district elections?
So the districts for the city of Brea came about thanks to a letter from a very aggressive lawyer who sues cities and other municipalities throughout the state to impose districts. And we entered into a settlement that we would move to districts with this attorney. And we then went through the entire process of actually drawing district boundaries. And then at kind of the very last minute, the vote was not to move ahead with districts. Brea is a relatively small city. It's hard to argue that we need districts. However, if and when we are reached out to again by said attorney, it could be a very expensive fight to fight districts, and no city has won that fight yet. So I would say we stand prepared if we need to. The districts that we drew were after the 2020 census, and so they will be valid, so to speak, until the next census.
Thank you. Mr. Klovstad.
I don't have much knowledge on the districting. However, the city's 12 square miles, I see that there's such a cohesiveness with the way city works in Brea that why would there be a need for districting? That's about all I could say to that.
Thank you. Mr. Siminoff.
Well, I was one of the votes that voted against going to districts. And again, I view Brea as a city where, so many people, when your kids grow up in this town, people all over the city, everybody knows each other. It's not that you don't. But if we were to go into districts, then instead of representing the entire community, that council member could be saying, well, I just have to represent my district first, and then everybody else comes second. And I think with having us all at large, it forces us to represent the entire community, listen to the entire community. When we have our special projects or we have our community meetings, we're listening to everybody and not just to a district. So I think it's important that we stay at large and council members are elected at large.
Thank you. Our next question goes first to Mr. Klovstad. Mr. Klovstad, what does financial innovation mean to you?
Forgive me. In my statement, bringing financial innovation to our community, I look at the community facilities districts, the CFDs, we just spoke about earlier, so I won't waste your time on that. I also think about the community center at Birch Hills. The utilities are in place there at that selected site. I just think that this community needs that community center to be built now. I believe the monies are sitting there for it. Why can't the city of Brea build this? I think the residents would prevail on that. Or do well with that. I'd also like to say that by offering that venue, you could have a variety of events, which would also bring new revenue to the city. And then I mentioned about the OPED account. I would support investing more money into that to handle the needs of post-employment benefits.
Thank you. Mr. Siminoff.
I think when we talk about innovation, Brea was one of the first cities to enter into what we call a PARS account. It's a special account that we put money into to help offset any future pension obligations. We put an initial $6 million of our city revenue into that account. That is now worth over $10 million, probably closing in on $11 million that we now have. We also have put money into an OPEB account, so we're also looking at the same with that account to put additional money. So when we have revenues over expenditures at the end of a fiscal year, the council will sit down and say, we want this much to go here, this much to go there. So we are being innovative. When we talk about the projects that Mr. Klofstadt brought up, well, the one at the east side is not something that's in the books yet. But again, when we're looking at spending $14 million to renovate Aero Vista Park, when we're looking at spending $4.5 million on getting new fire equipment, I think that we're being innovative with our money, and we're spending our money where our money needs to be spent.
Thank you. Ms. Merrick.
So fiscal or financial innovations is not my term, and it's actually a term that makes me nervous when I think about a city, right? That's how the County of Orange found themselves in bankruptcy, was from someone doing innovative things with their funds. We run a business here, which is mostly a people business and an infrastructure business. However, things that we are doing, such as the Aero Vista Park modernization, is actually an economic development move or play, because I truly believe having the North Orange County's first and only all-inclusive playground will bring people to Brea. And when they're here, they're going to shop downtown. They're going to go to the mall. They're going to go get ice cream and eat. So there are things that we do. They may not be innovative, but they are going to generate funds. And I will say one innovative thing that we did do was with the redevelopment that is happening at Simon at the Brea Mall. They are funding electronic billboards, and we will be able to sell advertising on those to generate revenue, and that will help us to offset some of the impacts from having the mall.
Thank you. Our next question goes first to Mr. Siminoff. What steps has the city taken or will take to address homelessness?
The city is becoming a partner with what's called the Hope Center. The Hope Center is a agency that's coordinating a number of efforts to effectively close the loop and unifying the data of individuals that they find out there into a communication mobile platform, so we understand where our homeless are. It helps to eliminate the duplication of services, and it allows for us to address the special needs that may exist with some of our homeless. These efforts are funded by the federal government, and there's 8 Orange County cities that are all participating in this program together. And by participating in this program, we've kind of helped free up some of our police officers, because the Hope Center will have individuals respond, deal with the homeless, try to place them in a home or in a facility. And again, we are actively looking, and we are also looking at a camping ordinance at this point also.
Thank you. Ms. Merrick.
Yeah, the city's involvement in the North Spa service planning area with our North Orange County neighbors and North Orange County Public Safety Collaborative has been our great effort. We've invested in 2 homeless shelters or navigation centers. We're underway to get started building permanent supportive housing. That's a key piece of the continuum of care, because we need a place for people to move out of a shelter. When they have a job, they can pay rent, but they still need services to help them get back on their feet. And we are actually taking the lead in creating that next step, and that allows new people to come into the navigation center or the shelter. In addition, with the recent Grants Pass Supreme Court decision, we do have more ability for those who don't want to accept services to have them move out of our parks or out of some of our local areas. And that's an important piece for us. We have to, though, remember these are human beings. And so we are working in coordination with our North Orange County partners. We're not going to kind of sweep people from one city to the next, and then they're just coming back.
Thank you. Mr. Klofstadt.
I think Brea is doing a great job, but we can do better. There's over 5,700 applicants on the city's wait list for affordable housing. Only 15 were made available, or only 15 were given homes this past year. I think we can do better on that. Transitional housing is wonderful. The city has over $8 million towards these projects. The most recent one I would believe would be the Jamboree project. It's located off Brea Boulevard near Lambert Avenue. It's in close proximity to the Brea Junior High School, as well as a development of homes. I'm not sure if that was the right location for that. My understanding is that $2.5 million was given from the state about 10 years ago. You needed to use that, and if it wasn't used, you would forfeit that money. Within about a short amount of time, the Jamboree project was given to council to consider, and I think under pressure, I'm just guessing, that project was ran through.
Thank you. Our next question goes first to Ms. Merrick. Are there plans for the future of the vacant Bank of America site?
Yes, the Bank of America site is owned by Amazon, and Amazon is in the planning process for a last mile delivery service facility.
Thank you. Mr. Klovstad.
Please ask the question again.
Are there plans for the future of the vacant Bank of America site?
My understanding is the Amazon business is going to be using that facility, bringing in new business for Brea, possibly a few employees. My concern is the traffic that would bring to the already busy roadways of Brea.
Thank you. Mr. Siminoff.
With regards to that facility, yes, it is an Amazon facility. It's going to be a same-day delivery, and the way that it is going to be set up is the deliveries that go in there are going to go in, I believe, after 9:30, 10 o'clock in the evening, so they won't be impacting any traffic on the street. The trucks that will be doing the delivery in the area will be leaving after 9 o'clock and coming back in at 7 o'clock to avoid the traffic hour. I think one of the other things that needs to be noted is with regards to the traffic on Valencia, because that's where this is located, under the new agreement with the landfill, I believe the landfill is going to revert to organics only. So you're going to see a great reduction in the number of trucks going in and out of the landfill. So if it's over 700 today, it will probably drop down to less than a third of that. So you're going to see less traffic there, and I think that you're not even going to see an impact from Amazon based on the hours of operation.
Thank you. Our next question goes first to Mr. Klovstad. How is Brea planning, or how would you plan for pension obligations and payments?
As I mentioned earlier, I think the pension fund was a little bit of a mess. I haven't mentioned that it was a little bit of a mess back in 1999, but it was improved in 2016. Seeing that the state of California couldn't manage a CalPERS fund very well, the new city council at that time strategized to put together a better fund plan that we've all grown to know is called PARS. That's the Irrevocable Pension Trust Fund. That was a good start. I would continue to support this approach to ensure Brea's employees' retirement is safe.
Thank you. Mr. Siminoff.
Yeah, I think I brought it up earlier too. With regards to the pension obligation, city did put aside $6 million originally. That PARS account is now worth over $10 million. That account can only be used for pension and pension use only. So if we're ever at a stage where we can't afford through our general budget and to pay the PARS obligation, that money is set aside and we can utilize that money for that and that purpose only. And again, we were one of the first cities in the area to create that fund, and I believe that speaks highly of this council and the direction we went to be able to put those kind of monies in that type of fund to ensure that we're protecting our general fund while making sure we have funds available for our pension obligations.
Thank you. Ms. Merrick.
In addition to the PARS trust that we have for pensions, we recently started funding an OPEB version of the trust. We do also have our own internal OPEB account where a slight portion of our revenues over expenses in every year goes into our internal OPEB account. But in addition to that, I'd just like to note that Brea has been very forward on doing pension reform. We did that, in fact, before the state, and now all new employees are under a slightly less generous formula, the PEPRA formula. We also have council members who are advocating at the state level, trying to make changes in the existing pension law. There's not a lot of opportunity to make any changes right now, and we want to advocate for some more flexibility with that. And I would also say, it's great to just say we want to fund the OPEB or fund the PARs more. That money has to come from somewhere, right? So these are financial decisions that we're making. We do prepay our PERS obligation at the beginning of the year rather than later on in the year, and that gives us a cost savings every year.
Thank you. This will be our last of the question period, and it will go first to Mr. Siminoff. What is the city's plan for meeting the state's regional housing needs assessment numbers?
Every 7 years, the state of California will determine what type of housing every community in the city needs. Our plan has been approved by the state, and what it does is it lists a number of different types of housing that we are supposed to bring in. With our ERA project coming in, I think most of that housing, a lot of it will be addressed. However, with some of the affordable things that we're looking at with the workforce type housing, we're addressing what is probably the one need that still needs to be addressed. But again, we take that RHNA number serious, and we are working towards meeting those numbers. But again, meeting those numbers, all of them is not necessarily something that can be accomplished, but you try to reach the goal, and I think the city is planning to try to reach as much of that goal as we can.
Thank you. Ms. Merrick.
So in the most recent cycle, our RHNA number is 2,365 units, and those will be different numbers of them at different levels of affordability. It's really important to make it clear that we don't have to guarantee that those units are built. What we have to do is set appropriate housing so that if someone wants to come in and build those units, we are not excluding them excuse me, from doing so. Now, I am, again, really proud that we are moving forward to currently get started on building units at the lowest levels of affordability, which has not happened in over a decade. And I'd just like to note that that was not done under duress to spend money. That was a very conscious decision, and that is something that we are proud of, not something that we had to do.
Thank you. Mr. Klofstad.
Speaking to that, regarding affordable housing, workforce housing, I would like to see city council and staff, as they move forward to accommodate housing in this city, to follow state mandates, but to also make sure that housing for affordable housing, or primarily workforce housing, is planned in the right areas moving forward.
Thank you. First to give our closing statements for this evening will be Ms. Merrick.
Stability is what builds trust for businesses to invest in Brea and for families to build their roots in this city. While we don't always agree on the city council, most of us are respectful and open to compromise. Like so many leaders before me, I work consistently here in Brea to set the path for our success in the future, planning for development and housing while protecting our hillsides, investing in public safety and parks, maintaining a balanced budget and high levels of service. I do not waste time and tax dollars on culture wars and lawsuits against the state. I focus on our community. When I am out in the community at events, shopping, or dining out, I consistently hear that people love living and doing business in Brea. Let's keep Brea on the right track with consistent, stable leadership that listens and looks out for Brea.
Thank you. Mr. Klofstad.
Again, thank you, Women League of Voters, Brea Chamber of Commerce, and the Brea City staff for hosting this event tonight to help us get our solutions to issues facing Brea these next 4 years. Thank you to the citizens in the audience and those of you at home for tuning in. I will respect the value and value all Brea citizens. I will be a respectful listener to my colleagues and city staff in order to solve problems. As a resident and business owner, and by electing me as city councilman, I will serve my position well, knowing I have a higher authority guiding me. By electing me, we will be on the cusp of positive change in Brea, change that recognizes people, that listens to citizens, and responds to questions from our constituents openly and honestly. I will advocate, I will be a team player, and I can carry the legacy of past council members to continue to make this city thrive.
Thank you. Mr. Siminoff.
I think you've been able to hear some different opinions from the three of us. The one thing that I would like to say is that in Brea, people know everybody. You walk around, you go to the market, people know who you are. You hear nothing but positive things with regards to the direction of the city. And again, that's a council that works as a cohesive group, works together, works for what is best for the community. I think the fact that, as I indicated, that we have a different number of public outreach projects where we reach out to the public and we want to hear from the community as to what their wants, what their needs, what their desires are. I think that speaks volumes for this council and for the direction that we have gone over the course of the years. Because by doing that, we are not just doing what we as a council think is best for everybody. We're doing what you as a community feel is best for everybody. That is our goal, and that is why we should be here, to try to do what is in your best interest and what satisfies you to make this a great community that you want to be a part of. Thank you.
Thank you. On behalf of the Brea Chamber of Commerce and the League of Women Voters of North Orange County, please join me in thanking our candidates for running and participating in this forum. Our citizens' willingness to lead and to run for office is a foundational part of our democracy. It is not easy, it is necessary, and we appreciate you. Please note that tonight's event will be rebroadcast on demand on the new Brea TV app through Election Day, November 5th, as well as on the Brea Chamber of Commerce YouTube channel. It will also replay daily on the Brea TV online streaming and cable channels at 9 a.m. and 6 p.m. I'd like to also thank our timekeepers and question sorters and our organizers of tonight's event, and to thank our audience for being so attentive and asking such good questions. Please check out vote411.org and pick up your easy voter guides before you leave. At the most important, please remember to vote on November the 5th. Thank you so much.